forget. All right. All right. And hi, Deb. You just said hi, everyone. I teach computer skills and wanted to see what's new. So that's awesome. All right. Well, I'm so glad that you guys are here. Let me just start out again by welcoming you. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll jump in and start talking about Google Docs and Google Slides and just kind of focusing on the idea of monitoring progress and providing feedback to students. So my name is Avra Robinson, and I am an instructor with an organization called EdTechTeacher. And I am a former elementary teacher. I started out a long time ago, back in 1996, teaching third grade. And then I taught kindergarten. And then I spent the bulk of my career in a tiny little district in Northern Illinois, where I was the technology coordinator, technology teacher, technology coach, kind of wore a bunch of hats, basically taught the kids, but also tried to keep everybody's computers running. And that was a K-8 district. So I've worked with all different grade levels. I'm also adjunct faculty at a local college near my home where I work with pre-service teachers. And I love that because I love to work with people that are, becoming teachers. They always have so much energy and enthusiasm. So that's really fun. So yeah, I've taught all different grade levels, and I think my favorite thing to do is to support teachers. So what I would love is for this session right now to be as useful and engaging for you as possible. I have, a wide variety of ideas, but if you guys have specific questions on things, I would love to answer them for you. Okay. We have a nice hour and it's not too jam-packed. So feel free to ask questions along the way, or if there's something that I show or demonstrate or mention that makes you think of something that you do, maybe it's a little bit different, or you just want to share an idea, please feel free. You can type in the chat. I've got, I'll put you guys up on another monitor, and I've got the chat up on another monitor, as well as, if you want to unmute and talk to me, that'd be super too, because it makes it a lot more fun for me when this is interactive, if you guys want to. But if it's been a long day and you're tired and you just want to sit back and get some ideas, that's great too. Okay. So before I start, does anybody have a question or a comment to make or anything like that? I think before I kind of start sharing my screen and jump in. I think you guys are good. All right, Kristen, welcome. I see that you just joined us a little bit ago. If you want to share with the whole group in the chat, say hello and share your role. That'd be super. If you don't want to, that's okay too. And I will go ahead and just do a screen share here, guys, and get my Zoom stuff going, and we'll kick it off here. All righty. So give me 1 second here to move my Zoom tools around and get you guys where I can see you again. All right. So you guys, I will share these slides with you so that you can, refer to them again. This is a session that has been co-sponsored kind of by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in Massachusetts, as well as Google. Okay. And so we're, just getting started. My name's Avra. My email address is on here, avra@EdTechTeacher. If I share an idea with you today and next week you go to try to implement it and you run into any trouble, I always welcome emails. I would love to hear from you if there's something that I can do to support you. So please just let me know. So this is just the description of the session. Basically, our idea here is looking at Google Docs and looking at Google Slides and looking for ways that we can give kids feedback. And I'm going to share a bunch of different ideas, everything from, commenting in those environments, as well as everything into like maybe some audio and some video as ways to be able to give even more conversational or authentic feedback. I'm going to share a variety of tools. Some of them, unfortunately, have a paywall to them, but there's a lot of districts right now that are purchasing different programs for different, for their teachers. So I'm going to mention some different things. I will let you know when one is paid because, that's important to know. But like I said, some districts have the paid tools. So I do want to just mention it. So we're going to start out with Google Docs, and I'm going to do some, sharing of slides and sharing of ideas, but then I'm going to do some live demos too, just to kind of show you, show you what we can do here. So we're going to start out by just talking about, how can we give feedback to kids when they're in a Google Doc? So when we think about kids using Google Docs to, for the writing process, right? Like writing an essay or even just a journal entry, something short, something long, there's a wide variety of uses of Google Docs, and then a wide variety of ways that we can give feedback to kids. And so we'll jump in and start by looking at some of those possibilities right now. There are several different ways to communicate within Google Docs, and some of them are synchronous, meaning that if you and I were in the same document right now, we could, be talking back and forth, like chatting, like we can in the Zoom chat. And that's actually a feature that sometimes teachers kind of say, oh, I kind of wish it didn't exist, because it can be a bit of a distraction if kids know about it. Unfortunately, it can't be turned off, but I think when we give our kids a chance to play with it and explore it, and then we give them some really specific directions and parameters, it can be a good tool for them, and hopefully not just a distraction. So we'll look at the real-time chat in just a second. We're also going to look at comments, and then we're going to look at something called suggesting mode, because there's definitely a difference. You can either give suggestions, which kind of creates automatic comments, and then you can also write your own comments. Okay, so I have some slides here, guys, and I'm going to give these slides to you, but I'm not going to I'm going to do a live demo, but I want you to know that these are here. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you do the real-time chat, and I will show you this in real time in just a second. Okay, but just know that you can always refer to these and come back to them later. So this is what it looks like when you're commenting. Okay, and we'll take a look at this live as well. And then there is something called suggesting mode. So let me exit out of that full screen mode there for a second and hop into a document. So what I have right now, guys, I'm just going to close this for a second. What I have is a document that I have open here, and let's say that I'm the teacher, and then this child Cameron is going to be my student. Okay, so I'm going to do a little kind of role play in school here. When I'm in here, I'm in my account. Okay, so this is me as a teacher. Now, what I'm going to do throughout the demonstration is I'm going to slide over and I'm going to be Cam. Okay, and so I've kind of got two different windows going, and I'll show you the back and forth. That way you can kind of see what it looks like from both sides. So just so that you don't get confused, Cameron's little avatar is this Skittles logo thing here. So, and I will let you know as I slide back and forth. Okay. So what I've got here is just a beginning of an essay that, let's just say that this child has written. And what you can see is a section of comments down the side here. Okay. So whenever we highlight a word in Google Docs, we get these two little buttons right here. Okay. And the first one obviously is to add a comment. And so what you do is you click on it and you get this little box that pops out, and this allows you to add a comment. So there's a couple different things that we can do here. Number one, we can just type something. So you could say something like, hey, check spelling. Okay. That's one way of being able to, give a comment to students. So what I'll do is choose comment right here. All right. And now I've literally given him the comment, check spelling. So when we go and slide over, and now I'm Cameron, then he's going to be able to see all of these comments. Okay. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about the number of comments, and how you can see that this can become pretty overwhelming. So we'll talk about some ways to kind of combat maybe that feeling of overwhelm that our kids can feel. But what I think is important to note is that at this point, if Cameron wants to, he can come and click here and he can see the comment pop out. Okay. And this is something that I teach to my kids, because what happens is that a lot of times when teachers are doing multiple comments, it's hard to tell what comment goes with what. So can you see how when I don't have anything selected, all of the comments over here are just lining up and they're all right here. And you guys, there's more than even just these four. If I come up and I click on like this up here, look what it does. It flies all the way up, and there's all these other ones up here. Okay. And so it can become overwhelming. So what I teach my students when we're using Google Docs is I teach them that they can figure out which comment is married or belongs to which section of text in two different ways. One way is to click on the text itself. So right here where it says, so I decided to it should say close my eyes, but it says closet. So I decided to closet my eyes and yell as loud as I could. If Cameron clicks right here, watch what happens. Over here, this comment pops out, okay? If he clicks right here where it says, I wanted to run, but my feet were stuck in the mud, then this comment pops out. So what I always taught my students was, if you want to know what comment goes with which section, click on the section of text, click on the part that's highlighted yellow, and then the little comment will pop out, go, ooh, pick me. Okay, that's mine. I go with that section. And that helps kids figure it out. Or conversely, the other way to do this is for them actually to click on the comment over here. And if they click on the comment, then that's going to make the text color, I'm sorry, not the text color, the highlight color darker. Let me show you. So right now, we've got all this yellow, okay, this kind of light colored yellow. But when I click on check spelling right here, now this becomes darker yellow, okay? And so now it can, it's the way that we can see what comment goes with what section of text, all right? So, excuse me. So this is something that I think kids need to practice. And I think it's something that we have to take time as educators to be really deliberate about making sure that they understand this environment, okay? The reason that I share this is because if you've ever written anything and shared it with anyone, whether you've given them a piece of paper and asked them to give you some feedback, you know, with handwritten notes, or whether you do it in a digital environment, anytime you put yourself out there and you write something, whether you're an adult or whether you're a child, and you get feedback, feedback is something that is great. And that's what we learn from, but it's hard. It's hard to take it. And sometimes it can be confusing and it can be overwhelming. My mom was a college professor here in Illinois for a lot of her career. And I remember specifically when she switched from using red pen, because this is, you know, back in the 80s. So before we were that online, right? Especially for drafts, we were writing out our drafts before we got our word processors out. I remember she switched from red to purple pen. And she just felt like the purple pen was a little softer. You know, it just wasn't quite so like red pen, here are all your mistakes. And while that was true, she had a lot of suggestions for folks. And so their margins would be full of purple pen and she would be circling things and all of that. And that's still a lot of feedback and it's a lot to take. And just, you know, here we are, let's fast forward 40 years, 30 years, and we're looking at this kind of environment. This can be a lot for kids, okay? So I think it's really important to kind of think about teaching them how to decipher this. The other thing to think about is the kind of classroom management, the rules or the procedures that you want kids to follow when they're in this environment. So for example, if Cameron were to come in here and look at all my comments, look at all the teachers' comments and do this, and we're going to resolve them, and I'm going to resolve this one, and I'm going to resolve this one, okay? Well, then what used to happen to me anyway, is you come back in as the teacher, and you look at this document, and you go, oh, wait a second, did I forget to tell him that, hold on guys, I'm going to just do a quick mute all, get a little bit of background noise. You say to yourself, did I forget to tell him that this is a run-on sentence? Or did he resolve my comment and without fixing it, right? So what I used to have my students do instead of resolving comments is I would ask them to write back to me. I would ask them to reply and I would ask them to just say the word done or check or something, okay? Or maybe they write back and they ask a question. So if we go up to this button right here, okay? So right now, in terms of these icons and buttons that are up here in the top right, this shows you who's in your document, okay? So Avra's in the document with Cameron. And then this button here is going to give us the comment history. So the teacher can open this back up and can take a look at, you know, the different ones that have been resolved, okay? And that's great. But what I like to do is have kids come in and either, you know, once they've fixed it, go ahead and write done. And then I just made a rule in my class that teachers resolve comments and kids don't, just because that was the easiest way for me to manage having 25 kids all with their essays and me giving them feedback and so on and so forth. Okay. So, Does anybody have a thought or comment right now about any of this? Do you do this in a different way when you're working with your students? Does anybody want to share, unmute, talk, share an idea, or type something in the chat? And I'm seeing some familiar names in the chat. Hi, Amy. I'm happy you're here. Hi, Robin. I'm glad you're here too. For my folks that joined us just recently. All right, guys, I'm going to keep going. So my point here is that I think that you have to come up with a couple of different strategies in terms of how you manage these kind of comments with kids. There are some other things I want to share as well. So let me keep going. So right now, we've just been talking about teachers adding comments to text, but there's additional ways that you can give comments and suggestions for an essay without necessarily adding the comments manually. And the way that you do that is by switching over from from a mode that we're in right now called editing mode, switching it over to being what's called suggesting mode. Okay, so you guys, that can happen in a couple different ways. One, you can highlight a word, okay, and then over here, this little floating button, icon over here, we can click right here and choose suggest edits. Okay, that's one way of doing it. You can also come up here. So if you follow my mouse up to the top right, we can switch from editing to suggesting right here. Okay, and now you guys, I'm in something called suggesting mode. So what this means is that while I'm in Cameron's document, if I do anything to it, I'm not really editing it. I'm just purely offering suggestions. So let me start with something as simple as, hey, watch, if I highlight all of this and say, Cameron, this is in 20-point font, that's way too big. And I'm going to say, I think that you should make it 14-point font. Well, then what I've done is changed it to 14-point font, but he can reject my suggestion because I haven't actually edited the document. So let's slide over and look at what Cam has now. Cam has a comment from me, okay, right here that says font size. And if he likes that and he says, okay, my teacher gave me this suggestion, he can go ahead and accept this suggestion, okay? Or he can reject my suggestion. So if he hits reject suggestion, boom, it goes right back to being the way that he had it. So when you share a document with someone, and if you don't want to give them editing access, if you want to give them only commenting access, you can do that, and they can be in what's called suggesting mode. So it's kind of nice because, let me slide back over and be the teacher again here. If I wanted to, I could highlight an entire sentence and I could type something else instead. So I could highlight this, hit delete, and write something else instead. Okay, and what this does then is it makes an auto comment over here. So it says, Avra is suggesting that you replace, I wanted to run, but my feet were stuck in the mud, with write something else instead. Okay, so at that point, he could either accept the suggestion or reject the suggestion. So if you're doing things with like word choice or anything like that, you can absolutely give kids suggestions in this way. Now, that being said, if you go through a student's essay and you do all these suggestions for them, then they can simply go through and go check, 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 and then they can accept all the suggestions, and then you've rewritten their essay for them. So you as the teacher may not use suggesting mode that often, but when you can use it is to have kids peer edit, okay? Kids give each other suggestions. So maybe they swap, they share out their essays with each other, and they go into suggesting mode. And that way they're not actually changing each other's documents, but instead just offering suggestions. So does that make sense? And I'm going to look at Laura's comment real quick. I like the idea of having kids write done when they fix the suggestion. I've been struggling with this. Good. I'm glad that'll be helpful for you, Laura, because that was always something that I struggled with, that because, you sit down and you grade a bunch of kids' stuff, or you do that first run on their essays, and then you come back and your comments are gone. And without digging for them, in that comment history area, it's like, man, did I miss this? Because this word is spelled wrong, and it's because they've gone through, and sometimes they just, it's also a way for them to be able to see and kind of check off the list of everything that they needed to do if they go down through their comments. It is confusing for kids, you guys, when there are comments that are kind of up here, and it's like, how do we get to them? And that's where then they need to come and click on these different sections in order to be able to see each of the sections of text and have those comments kind of pop out and say, hey, here I am. So let me hop back over to my slides. Those are not my slides. Let's find my slides. Here we go. So let me just show you that this is all in here, because I'm going to give you guys this at the end of our time. So you can always take a look at these slides, just because they have some screenshots on them, as well as some text that kind of dissect these areas and remind you of the stuff that I'm talking about today. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is, it may not be applicable for all of you, okay? Because since this session is meant for elementary folks, not all schools have, little guys have access to email. But I'm just going to mention it anyway, just in case you do work with older kids, or maybe, maybe Laura's fifth graders do have email, or maybe you're just working with a colleague and you want to know about this. Inside of a comment, you can do an @ symbol and start to type someone's name, okay? And then what'll happen is that it'll auto-populate with the different names that are, that as you're starting to spell. And so here you can see I did my colleague Caitlin. And what'll happen is when I hit a sign right here, this will send Caitlin an email, okay? And it's called tagging, or creating what's called an action item, okay? And so what's going to happen is that Caitlin will get an email that says, Avra Robinson created an action item for you. And what that means is that I've checked a box saying, hey, Caitlin, I need you to do something, okay? So this is one way of being able to kind of notify someone of comments. You guys, when you're the owner of a document and someone makes comments or resolves comments, a lot of times you'll get email notifications about that. But if you're not the owner of a document, okay, you may not get them. So let's look for a second. Let me hop back into Google Docs and show you. There's a, that's not it. That's not what I want. Hold on. Is it in here? No. Hold on a second. I think it's in the history. There we go. Here in this history button, there is, let me see if I can just zoom in so you guys can see this a little bit better. There are a couple of buttons here, okay? And here you can see which comments you're going to get. So here, if we drop this down, we can either see all the comments, or if this is a collaborative environment, maybe it's a group of kids all working on something together. Maybe you look for comments that are only for you, okay? Or only comments that are open, or maybe you want to filter it by comments that are resolved. Okay, so this is a way where within this comment history, you can zoom in and just see, filter in and just see the ones that you want. And then also over here, you can click on this little notification bell, and you can say, hey, I want a notification of every comment that's made, or just comments that are for me, or hey, I don't want notifications at all of these comments. Okay, so if you happen to be like, and maybe this is something for you as a professional working with other people, if you're working on a document with a committee or something, and all of a sudden your email's just blowing up with so-and-so resolved this comment and this person did this comment, and you're like, I don't need all that. If I want to read all that, I'll do it when I get into the document. Then you can turn off those notifications. Okay, so be aware that all happens here inside this comment history. And you guys, this is a panel that kind of turns on and off. So as I click this little speech bubble right here, now we have it turned off. Now we have it turned on. Okay, so be aware that that's there also. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's a real-time chat. Okay, so if I click here, right next to Cameron's little avatar, yeah, Jude, this does work in Sheets as well. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. I'm going to I don't want to say the wrong thing, because I don't know that I've ever actually turned notifications on and off, but that's a really good idea. Yeah, it's right here. Excuse me for one second, guys, while I digress, but I like when people ask questions. Yeah, that's right there. And I bet you it's in slides as well. Yeah, it's one of those things that like we don't even notice it's there until we do it. So yeah, it's there. And that way, if you are getting emails and they're unwanted, yeah, you can turn that off, or you can turn it on if you're missing stuff. So great question. Thanks for asking. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, what was I saying? Sorry about that. I'm usually better at keeping my thoughts about me. Oh, chatting. Okay, so then next to Cameron's little avatar here, okay, so this shows that Cam's in the document with me. I can turn on this chat. So this right side panel, you guys, gets used for a lot of different things. And this is where you can actually have a synchronous chat. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. This can be good and bad, okay? A lot of times kids don't even know this is here. So if you've got little guys that don't know about it, maybe don't even tell them, but I'm just gonna mention anyway. I can say, hi there, okay? And do that. And I can say hi to Cameron. And then if I come over here, now take a look up here. Cameron's can see that there's a little red dot and there's, little pop-up that says that I talked to him. So now he can come and click right here and then he's going to see my chat. Okay, so he can say, hi, Avra. Okay, if I was his teacher, he'd probably say Ms. Robinson, but you get the idea. So we can go back and forth and I can say, do you have any questions? So this is a feature that, if you've got older kids and you are helping them from afar, possibly, this might've been one of these things that you could use during remote learning. Hopefully we don't have a whole lot of that in the future, but even I did this when I was in the computer lab with kids. If I had kids that were working in another room, but I was teaching at the time and I was kind of multitasking, they might chat with me from another classroom or even across the room just to ask a quick question. Okay. So this is just a synchronous chat. As you can see right here, it says document chats are not saved. So when we exit out of this document and come back into it, it'll be empty. Okay, good and bad with that, I know. Okay, but that's just another way of being able to communicate within a Google Doc. Okay, so we've looked at the synchronous chats. We've looked at kind of the comments are somewhat of an asynchronous chat, and you can definitely go back and forth when you're doing comments. And what's nice about it is that they are time-stamped. So I'm trying to zoom in so you guys can see this. So like here at 10:52 this morning, I left him a comment, and then at 2:44, he wrote me back. So, we can go back and forth on this kind of as many times as we want and have these kind of conversations. And just recently, it's now popping up with suggestions, for things that we could write, kind of like you see in different, maybe apps on your phone and things like that, but they're giving us suggestions. You can ignore these, or guys, if you want to write never mind, you sure could, so you could just click on it and it's going to put it right into the box for you. Okay, so that @ symbol thing, okay, looks like this. So if I wanted to send this to my colleague or my boss, actually Tom DeCord, I would click right there. So what I'm just going to demonstrate that again. I would do the @ symbol, and then I'd come down and find the person to whom I'd like to direct this specific comment, and I would click on their name. Okay, and then you can just write your comment here, please review this for me, that kind of a thing. And then I could hit reply and Tom will get an email from me. The nice thing about the email is that it actually has a direct link right into the document. He can just click on it, come right in, and he can take a look at it. Okay, so so lots of different possibilities with that as well. Does anybody have any questions before I jump into the next idea? All right, I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so keep those questions coming anytime. Let's talk about this for a second. So be aware that the comments inside of Google Docs have the ability to have links in them, okay? And the links are active, they're live. So they're not something that kids have to kind of highlight and copy and paste into a new tab. They can actually just click right on it. So a lot of teachers will utilize this as a way to push additional resources out to kids. So, hey, this is a run-on sentence. Please watch this video to review how to fix it, right? And then maybe this YouTube video is, conjunction junction or whatever, it's going to be a video that's going to review conjunctions or whatever the content is. This doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing either. It could be like, hey, you've got a great idea in this paragraph. Go watch this video or go explore this website and, get more information because I think you're really onto something here, right? So while I used a YouTube video as the example here, it could absolutely just be a website as well. You guys, it could also be a link to another slideshow, another document, something like that, where you say, hey, we reviewed this in class, go back and watch or go back and explore these slides for more information. So be aware that, you know, besides just plain text, you can also put links right in there. And so let's just say we wanted a link to this website here. Okay, we could come on in to any little comment here. We'll just highlight the word what. And, you know, it's just as simple as pasting it. You can hit enter, you can write in here. You guys, you can also right click, choose emojis and symbols. So I'm on a MacBook, but this does work on a Windows PC as well. And you can put some emojis in there. So if you want to soften or augment your comments with some, you know, warm fuzzy emojis, you can do that as well. And if you're on a Chromebook and you need help with emojis on a Chromebook, let me know because I can help you with that as well. Okay. So, so those are comments. You know, we've kind of been talking about comments in Google Docs. This is the slide that kind of reiterates my thoughts on the effect of multiple comments with elementary kids. I think it's really important for teachers to remember that it can be overwhelming and disheartening when you get into a document that you've worked hard on and you've got all these comments. So do take the time with your students to really dissect this environment and let them play a little bit. The best time I had with my kids was just letting them partner up and give each other comments back and forth. They love it. Like they enjoy doing that. And then that's how they really get a feel for what it's like and which one goes with what and how it works. And that way they get a sense of it and just let them explore. It'll make your life so much easier if you take the half an hour and just, you know, really teach the skill. It's just like, you know, when I taught kindergarten, we had to teach them how to hold their pencil. You know, here we have to teach them how to use the tools to be successful. Okay. All right. Another idea. Does anybody out there use Google Keep? Anybody a Google Keep user? I live for Google Keep. It is a Post-it note app. I'm just looking to see if anybody's going to write to me. I will show it to you all, okay? Because, okay, thank you, Jude. I appreciate it. So Google Keep, you guys, you know, I'm going to do this in Cameron's account because that way I keep mine. That way I'm not projecting all of my notes. This is Google Keep. Okay, Google Keep is a Google product, and now my phone thinks I'm talking to it. It's an app on my phone. It's also here on my computer. Okay, it works on my iPad as well. I have an Android phone, so there's apps for all the different operating systems, and they're Post-it notes. And what they are, guys, is they're colorable. Okay, they can be made to be different colors. You can put pictures with them. Okay, so you can put a picture in there if you want. On a mobile app, in the mobile app, you can also draw. Okay, so what's really cool about this, you just click on take a note, and then here's what you get. Hold on, let me see if I can zoom a little bit. It doesn't want to let me zoom, does it? There it goes. Here we go. So they're notes. Yeah, so they're just like little Post-it notes. So here's what this is what it looks like. This is one Keep note, if you will. So it's a list of things to do. Okay, so what you do is you click and you can give it a, you know, let's say week of December, or whatever next week is. I don't know, 4th, week of 4th to-do list. Okay, and then I could just type something here. So I could write laundry, groceries, grade papers. Okay, and then there are all of these icons down here across the bottom. Well, one of them, the 3-dot menu, allows us to choose show checkboxes. So the checkboxes actually puts checkboxes in. Okay, so to make a new one, Jude, I'll show you. Hold on. So you're in Google Keep, you go up to where it says take a note right here. Okay, and then you can click here on title and you can click here on take a note. Okay, so either way works. And then what it does is it kind of puts them all down in here. You'll see there's tons and tons of them here. So let me go back into this one and we'll continue to kind of dissect this environment. So the neat thing about Keep, and this is just a couple quick things, and then we'll jump back into how this pertains to our topic, but it does have reminders, you guys. Okay, so if you wanted to make yourself a to-do list and then you want it to pop up and remind you at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to get started, you could. You can also have it remind you with a place. Okay, so I've actually used this with kids and had them, like, if they forget, and I do this with older kids who have phones, okay, because it works well when it's got the mobile app. But what'll happen is when they get home, if they pick the place, if I choose my place here and I type in 222 Windover Park Court, okay, Rochelle, Illinois, then when I pull into my driveway, my Google Keep literally pops up and it will remind me of this, or it will remind me to bring my library book back to school, or it will remind me to go pick up a gallon of milk at Walmart. When I pull into Walmart, it'll say, don't forget to get milk, or whatever it is. Okay, so it can be a neat tool for some of our older students when we're starting to work with them on self-regulation and those kind of skills. But let me just show you a couple more things, and then I'll show you how it pertains to our progress and feedback webinar today. You can share your notes, okay? So be aware that they're shareable, collaborative, just like anything else. So you could share it with people and each have access to that. So my family has a grocery list, and we all, well, in theory, we all, when we run out of things, put things on our list, okay? But then you can also color your notes. You can add an image to your notes. And then in this 3-dot menu, you can also add a label. So let me show you what I have over here now for you, okay? What you can do when you're in Google Docs or in Google Slides, way over here on the right-hand side, there's this panel, okay? And if you don't see it, do you see, follow my mouse to the bottom right, do you see where it says hide side panel? Yours might be hidden. So if you have this little thing down here and it says show side panel, then open it up, okay? And this is where you're going to see an icon for calendar, you're going to see one for tasks, and you're also going to see one for keep. And what you can do, if we click on this, then you can come up to this little magnifying glass right here, and I can type in feedback, okay? Because what I've done in the past is I've created Google Keep notes with feedback that I give again and again. So if you find yourself explaining what a run-on sentence is, hey, please, these details don't really support your topic sentence. You might want to move them to a different section of your essay, or please be sure to check the spelling in this paragraph. There are several words that are spelled incorrectly. If you find yourself writing the same thing over and over again in a document, what you can do is just launch your little Google Keep over here, then come on over and just, I'm just highlighting it and then doing a quick Control-C. And then I can come over here and I can either kind of zoom over, or I could close out of this now altogether and give myself more space on the page. And then I could highlight some text and paste that comment in, okay? So what you do basically is you create the notes in here. So you would take a note, you might call this feedback for run-on. You would come in here and you would write whatever it is that you want to say. And then you want to go to the 3-dot menu, choose add label, and then make yourself a label called feedback. Okay, so I had to create it here in Cameron's. And then each time you make a new note, okay, so let's do feedback on spelling. Please be sure to check spelling. And that way you don't have to type that each time. You come down to the 3-dot menu and you choose add label, and then you choose feedback. And the way that notes works, guys, that's a little bit different from like Google Drive, is that there's not folders of notes. So I kind of wish there were, but instead what there is are their labels over here. So I could come to feedback, and then I'm going to see my feedback notes. Okay. You can also search your notes by color if you want to, and do it that way. But when you're over here in Google Docs and you click right here on Keep, you can come up to the magnifying glass, to the search button, and you can type in the name of your label, and it's going to bring you all of your different notes, if that makes sense. So that's just another possibility for you, as a way to be able to maybe quickly, add common feedback that you find yourself doing again and again. Okay. On a separate note, Keep can be used with students. Every Google account has it, and they can take notes in there, and then they could bring up their notes on the side for when they're writing their essays as well. So that might be something that that you want to coordinate with your students. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep going unless anybody else has a question about that. All right, version history. You guys, version history is a really powerful tool. It works both in slides. It works in all the products, actually, maybe not forms, but sheets and docs and slides. And what it does, let me go big here, is it allows us to see the progression of a file, okay? Because Google saves for us constantly, it saves like every, few seconds or so. It allows us to be able to see how a document has progressed, which is neat, because I don't know about you, but I know I've walked through the class before and I've watched my kids on their Chromebooks and I've seen them writing. And it's like somebody's got like, oh, good, they've almost got a paragraph going. And then you walk around and you're helping somebody and then you come back and that child that just had a paragraph done, their page is empty. And you go, oh, what happened, right? And they've gotten frustrated and they've started over, that kind of a thing. So sometimes when you go in and you look at version history, it gives you a little bit of an insight into your students' thought processes and their work habits and that kind of thing, so that way maybe you can help them, okay? So this is how you launch it. You go to File, and you go down to version history, and then you're going to choose see version history. And I'll do this live for you in just a second. Okay. And then it looks like this. So you're going to see dates and time stamps over here. And then you're going to see the people that are in the document. All right. So whether it's just the one student or whether it's a collaborative environment, you'll see that. And it's time and color stamped. So let's take a look at that. All right. So let's go into Cameron's work here. I'll go ahead and close out of my Google Keep stuff over here. I'm going to go onto the left-hand side of my screen and go to File. From here, I'm going to go to Version History. And now I'm going to come down to where it says See Version History. Okay. And now you guys take a look at all of this. All right. So here we are, December 2nd. This was initially written or created on September 22nd. So let me come and click here. And this is what the document looked like when it began, right? At 2:09, it was empty. And then at 2:12, it had some stuff in it, okay? So this is also something where I will say, and I don't mean to be negative, but if at 2:09, it's empty, and at 2:10 or 2:11, it's written and perfect, we know that maybe the student didn't write it, that they copied and pasted it from somewhere as well. So it can help, help teachers to kind of decipher what's happening during the writing process in a variety of ways. Okay. Let's look at these different colored dots. Okay. Purple is Avra and green is Cameron. So if I come in here and I go to this little arrow triangle thing there, I click this, it's going to then open up all the different things that were happening at the different times on this day, okay? And anytime I click on any one of these, we're gonna see Cameron's stuff is going to be green. I'm trying to do a good example here. Let's see if I can get to a better one. Okay, so Avra's stuff is purple, okay? And Cameron's stuff is gonna be green. So anything that Cameron has written is going to be green, this is not a great example here. Let's get to something that's green. All right, not a great example. Sorry, guys, but his stuff would be that teal color. All right, you'd be able to see the two different colors and you can see who did what when in this document. Okay, this works in slides as well. It's just trickier because slides has all these different slides. Okay, so if I come to my slideshow and I go to File, and I go to version history and I go to see version history, you're going to see a lot of green over here because it's all me, because this is my slideshow. But if I had a colleague that was in here working on stuff with me, then all of these boxes over here would be a different color, like a purple or a red or something like that. But what this does for teachers, this gives you a kind of a sneak peek into who did what. If nothing else, you can at least tell your kids that you can do this, because then if they're working collaboratively, if someone accidentally deletes someone's entire slide or part of their slide, you can go back into that version history. So watch, if I click right here on slide 16 and I delete it, all right, we go, oh, it's gone. She deleted my stuff. And then there's, upset people and all of that. All we have to do is go to File, Version History, come down to See Version History. And then I need to go back to like the last time I edited this, which was at 2:21, and I'll be able to find that slide. So here's that slide that got deleted. And you guys, all I have to do is right click and copy it. Okay. Then I'm going to use this arrow in the top left to get out of version history, come on back, And then I think it goes right about here, and I can paste it in. Okay. So basically it's like a foolproof thing, because then even if kids are collaborating and they're writing together and they're creating together, or if they're just doing it on their own and they delete something accidentally, you can go dig back into the version history and find their stuff and restore it, and hopefully save them from, you know, the mistakes and that kind of thing, or fix the mistakes as they happen. Okay. All right. And I'm just going to assume that you guys are okay, and that you have, unless you have any questions, that's version history, version history. All right. So talking about slides now, less about docs and more about slides. The one thing I wanted to mention about slides is that comments work the same way, okay? But what's neat is that a couple of years ago, the Google changed the way they did things. Initially, you could only do general comments on an entire slide. So it'd be like, hey, you know, I just would click on the little comment button right here, and I would write a comment, and it didn't necessarily go with any specific piece of text or an element of the slide, like an image or something. But now, if we want to just highlight certain words, now we can go and choose add comment. So right here is the add comment button, or you can simply right click on it and come on down and choose comment. Okay. And then you can see that just like with the docs, it's going to be yellow. So, you know, you could do something like check spelling. And then you're going to see when you click here, you're going to see it turn yellow. Or if you come over here and you're inside the text box, if you click here, then the little comment box will pop out and say, ooh, pick me. Okay. So that's going to be a way that you'd be able to give kids feedback on their individual slides. All right. So it's, you know, it's similar to Google Docs in that, you know, you can highlight certain sections of the slide and be able to share feedback. Okay. Let's take a look now at let's change lanes mentally for a minute and talk less maybe about feedback and more about putting kids into an environment where they're working and you're able to monitor their progress. So let's think for a second about a time when we might put a group of kids, maybe not the whole class, but maybe like 5 of them in one slideshow together. Okay. And maybe you're asking them to work in a group, and they each have their own slide where they're responsible for something. Here's the cool thing you can do. You can go down to the bottom of slides, okay? And I'll show it to you live over here. And there are 2 views for your slides. You guys, the default view is film strip view. That's where all the slides are down here, going down the left side of the page, and then the main slides here in the middle. But there's another view, and it's called grid view. So if we click on grid view, this is what my slideshow looks like now. Okay. And you can see like all the slides at once. Well, let me get back to my slide here that I want to show you. Let's go into an environment, a sample environment, as though we had kids working together. Okay. What if we put kids in an environment where they're all, you know, they all have their own workspace, but I, as a teacher, want to keep a pulse on how they're doing. Okay. And maybe we've asked them to answer a question here. Maybe here we've asked them to upload a picture of a math problem that they're working on. Maybe over here they're doing something different. Okay. Couple different things with this. One, we can set it up where there are little boxes here. And when they're done with the box that coincides, you know, with, let's say, hold on, let me put this back up here. Let's say that, you know, hey, I finished task 3. It was to upload my math problem. Well, then what I can do is take this, drag it on down, and place here when complete. Okay. And or down here, there's a box that says help. Fill this bucket with red when you need help. So if you've got kids working individually in slides, watch what happens if I come over now and I put this into grid view. Okay. I can take a quick look and go, okay, you know, student number 1 over here has got task number 3 done. I can see that she, you know, made this green. That's awesome. I can see her picture there. Great. Oh, but look, here's Kayla. Kayla made hers red. So I'm going to head over to Kayla's desk and see how she's doing, because she's letting me know with a visual representation here on the slide that she's struggling. So maybe, we do the 3 before me, or we do the, hey, keep working, but turn your box red and I'll get to you. I'll come over and help you. Okay. So this might be a way to be able to have quick visual representations for you as the teacher, and be aware that at the bottom of this view, there's a minus sign and a plus sign, and that's to zoom. So you guys, if you want to be able to see all of them at once, you can zoom out. Okay. And then if you want to zoom in and be able to see more, you can do the plus sign and zoom in and be able to see it better. So maybe here we have to kind of scroll, but at least we can get up close and see it more. Jude's question, is there a way to have it only be in presenter view? Like, do you mean this one here, like this grid view, like this? Or, oh, one slide at a time. Oh, yeah, I'm sure there is. But I would just have to think about how to do that. I don't know, you may have stumped me on this one. Like if I went up into present, yeah, that's going to be full screen though. That's probably not what we want. I don't know if I do the plus sign, this is as big as it's going to get. So I think if we want to see it just one slide at a time, I think we're going to end up with this, but I think you can maybe slide this over. If somebody knows the answer to this while I struggle, here we go. That kind of does it, Jude. I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for, but like this little thing lets us open and close it. So if you share it with students and you don't want to see the slides on the side, so what you could do is this thing right here, you could hide the film strip. Would this do it for you? Yeah. All right. So there we go. I knew there was a way to do it. I just had to think it through. So yeah, good question. So yeah, that's what you could do right there. So that's that little arrow right next to the buttons for toggling back and forth between those different views. So great. Thank you for asking questions. I appreciate it. So, all right, you guys, I want to get, I know we're down to about 9 minutes or so. So I want to just get to a couple more ideas for you. I've also set up slideshows for students where instead of using comments in slides, because the comments in slides, they work. Okay. I mean, we can absolutely highlight a section of text, insert a comment, and then we can write something. Okay. The problem happens is that it kind of moves everything around and it can get tricky just because of the spacing and stuff like that. The nice thing about slides is that there is enough room a lot of times where you can let kids do some work over here, and then you could actually build out a slide, and you guys can take this, you're going to have access to this. You could make copies of any of these templates, but you could actually build a space for your own feedback if you wanted to. So if you wanted to, just leave yourself a box and say, hey, this is my teacher box. When I come in and I read whatever you've written, or I look at whatever you've done, I'm going to give you feedback inside this box here. Okay. That's a possibility as well. The other thought for you is video, and I'm going to jump in and talk about audio and video in just a minute. But remember that if you were to use something like Screencastify and you wanted to, you could always insert a video for students. So like if I hop back over here and I take a look at this student's work, I could hit go on Screencastify. Okay. I could do a quick record and record myself taking a look at their work. Hey there, Kayla, I want to let you know that I think you've done a really great job. So you still need to finish up task 1 and task 2, but I see that you're done with task 3 and you did a great job. You got X by itself, blah, 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 blah. You're giving them feedback. Okay, so I'm going to stop my recording. And then, if you've used Screencastify in the past, you know that what it's doing right now is saving to Google Drive. Okay. And so it may not happen right this instantaneously, since I'm kind of running a Zoom at the same time as doing a recording, but you guys, it doesn't take long, as you know, if you've used Screencastify in the past, to be able to just then go insert video. And then we're going to go to Google Drive right here. It may not be done processing. I can see it's not, but here it is right here. And I could hit select, and then I'd be able to bring in some video feedback for a student as well. So it shows as though it's still formatting it, but I can see over here. Hey there, Kayla, I want to let you know that I think you've done a really great job. So you still need to finish up. So, while it's black right here, it is watchable and it will be done in about 5 minutes or so. But if you wanted to, depending on how you have this set up, you could take that video then and have given students some feedback with your voice. And I think that's the thing that we have to think about, is that all of this written feedback and all of these comments and everything are good. They really are, but they can be overwhelming. And sometimes it's just easier for kids to hear it explained, hear what they need to do, and have a video. And that's where Screencastify can come in handy. Now, Screencastify is a program that you can record for up to 5 minutes for free. So if your district hasn't paid for it, which I think some of your districts have, but if you haven't, it's okay. You don't want a feedback video to be longer than 5 minutes anyway. It'd be better to do 2 short videos rather than one that's like 10 minutes long, because you're going to lose your kids. Okay. So an example of one, let me show you. It's right here. We won't watch this whole thing.
All right. Hi there, Allie. This is Ms. Robinson, and I am taking a look at your awesome essay that you've got started here. So this is your rough draft, and I'm going to just kind of review this while I make this screencast for you. What I'm going to do is insert some comments over on the side and give you some suggestions for some changes, but I'm going to do that while I screencast this or record everything I'm doing for you, and that way you can watch it as many times as you need and hopefully be able to understand all of the suggestions that I'm making for you. So to begin with, I want you to know that I think you've done a great job with this rough draft. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the title of your essay here, and I'm going to insert a comment, and I'm going to remind you to remember to center your title and choose a different font size. So remember, we talked about setting our title off from the rest of our text by making it probably bold.
So you guys, when I've done this in the past with kids, what this does is it gives them everything that they need to do. It's like you're conferencing with them, okay? But you're making kind of a video list for them of the things they need to do. But I will tell you this, obviously this is going to probably be, I would say maybe 3rd grade and up, right? But you have to teach them to learn to take feedback from a video. So you have to say, like, after, you know, the teacher told her here to increase the size and center her title. She needs to pause the video at that time and then go over to her essay, you know, into a different tab and go fix the mistake, and then come back to the video and continue to watch the video, and then make the corrections along the way that the teacher has suggested. And that was one thing that when I did this with my kids, we had to practice a lot, because otherwise they just sat back and kind of watched the video and just watched it almost like from an entertainment perspective, instead of as a way to, you know, to actually take the feedback and make the changes that need to be made. So keep video though as a possibility in the back of your mind, as a way to be able to give feedback on any kind of digital assignment, whether it's a document like this one, or whether it's a slideshow, or whether it's anything that kids have done online, because all you have to do is hit go on Screencastify, and you're going to be able to give them feedback as though you're sitting right next to them. So I know we're almost out of time. The last thing I want to mention are some possibilities for audio as well. I will tell you though that my plan until this morning at about 7:30 was to tell you that Mote is my favorite thing in the world, because what Mote is it's a way to be able to record your voice. So you guys, if you noticed, you may have been wondering, let me get out of history here and go in. You may have noticed that whenever I make a comment over here, there's this purple button, and you may have been wondering kind of what that is if you've never seen it before. Well, that's the Mote extension. And what Mote does is it allows me to record my voice. So up until this morning, it was free for up to 30 seconds. The creators, the company just sent an email out this morning saying that they are changing it. They've created a paywall now, and unfortunately they're only allowing 20 Motes per month per teacher. Okay, so that from my perspective doesn't meet our needs then. It is a paid tool. It's $39 for a year. Districts can get it for cheaper. It's a great tool, but it is paid, so I wanted to mention it. But definitely wanted to be really transparent about the fact that it was free literally yesterday, and now today they're making it paid. The other option is an add-on called Kaizena or Kaizena. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it, but it's the same idea. I don't necessarily suggest it for elementary because you have to go up to add-ons, you have to go down to Kaizena, you have to open Kaizena, and then it opens up a panel on the side, and it's just kind of clunky. Whereas Mote just kind of worked beautifully. Mote made it so that, let me show you one of these Mote recordings over here. Give me a sec. Here, it just worked like this.
Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3.
So we'll just pretend that that's an actual comment. Okay, so that's what Mote does. It's a wonderful thing to be able to, talk to kids and give them feedback and say, hey, I think that this is a great sentence, but it might work better down in your second paragraph, rather than trying to have them read all of that. So just something to kind of keep in mind, if at all possible, if your district, provides for opportunities for, for paid tools, the Mote one would be the one that I would choose because it works so well. But also remember that Screencastify is a possibility for you as well. All you have to do is hit record and be able to, record your screen as you're assessing or giving feedback on any student work. So we're kind of almost out of time here, guys. Would anybody like to share an idea and or share a, hey, I used to think, but now I think kind of reflection here at the end while I grab the link for all of you and put it into the chat? Does anybody want to share a little bit of feedback on something that you may have, your mind may have shifted a little bit, your thinking may have shifted a little bit, or something that you learned or kind of excited about? And I am sad to hear about Mote too. I'm deeply saddened to hear about Mote. I couldn't believe it this morning. Because I don't, teachers don't need to take any more dollars out of their own pockets to pay for things. And I know districts are strapped as well. But yeah, you're welcome, Amy. Good to see your name. And you guys, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. My email address is in here, Avra at EdTechTeacher. We are doing another session next week. Trying to remember what I'm talking about next week. We are exploring opportunities to support diverse learners. So we're going to look at some accessibility stuff when it comes to Chrome and some of the Google tools. So, and Deb, Thinking Shift was all the comments for the students. Greatly appreciate the video and audio options. You're welcome. You're welcome, Maureen. Thank you, you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time after school to come to a PD session. It is, speaks to who you are as an educator, and I appreciate you. Thank you for your service to your students. All right. If we don't see you next week, you guys enjoy your December. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you.